All right. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Looks like we're right at 1 o'clock. Welcome to our June 2025 Get Well Wednesday. Um, I'm really excited about this one because since we joined the SAI group back in July of last year, the number one question I've gotten is how we were going to infuse AI into the Get Well solution. So a lot of work has been going on in the background around that. And today we are actually going to get to see what that looks like. So very excited about this session. As a reminder, the whole audience is muted just because there are so many people in attendance, but feel free to put any questions you have in the chat. We actually have some folks from our product team helping to monitor that chat that can probably answer it there, or as Josh is presenting, we can call out questions too. Also, at the end of this session, there will be a short survey for you to take. If you have any questions that we may not have gotten to during the presentation or anything else that comes up, ideas, feedback, feel free to put it in that survey and we will get back to you. All right, Josh, if you want to go to the next slide. As a reminder, for those who may be new, we do have Get Well Wednesday, the very first Wednesday of every single month. We do rotate topics, so it's something new and fresh every time. So it's a good live learning experience. And then, Josh, you can go to the next one. If you have not registered for the series, or if you registered for the Get Well Wednesday series a while back, feel free to scan this and re-register. We did find out that in the past, it only had about 11 months added to it, so it's been falling off of some folks' calendar. So feel free to re-register here. You can also find any past Get Well Wednesday recordings or slide decks on our Connection Hub. If you do not have a Get Well Connection Hub account, there is a link at the bottom of this slide, which we'll send out, where you can create an account and you can see what's coming up for new Get Well Wednesdays and other live learning sessions, such as ambassador training and program manager live learning, which is coming back. So this here gives you a look into kind of our summer lineup. So next month, we will have Alex Cook, who is one of our Rounds Plus specialists. She will be talking about upcoming dashboards, as well as how Opal is getting infused into Rounds Plus. I know Josh is going to give us a little preview of that here at the end today as well. August, we are going to talk about the Smart Hospital of the Future. I have a feeling we will have Josh back for that one as well. And then in September, Spellbound AR, which is an augmented reality vendor partner of ours, will be here to kind of showcase some of the things that they have going on and talk about their products. So Josh, if you want to go to the next slide. Today's presenters, this is about the extent of which I will be presenting. I'm Misty Avery. I'm the Director of Clinical Services and the Learning Center here at Get Well. And with me is Josh Young, who is really kind of our key speaker today, who is our Vice President of Interactive Patient Care and Smart Room Product. So with that, I will actually go ahead and turn it over to Josh.
Cool. Thank you, Misty. All right. Well, I have the great pleasure today to join and, as Misty mentioned, kind of give you guys a sneak peek of how we're starting to introduce AI into our existing products. And so, obviously, many of you are aware we had a pretty significant merger with SAI Group last year, and so we've been doing a bunch of work behind the scenes to start to infuse a lot of the existing technologies that you guys know and love and are familiar with some enhanced capabilities using artificial intelligence. And so we're going to dig into that a little bit today. And Opal is the persona that you're going to hear a lot more of. And so get used to the name, but I am happy to introduce that Opal is kind of the persona and the name that we at Get Well are using for our artificial intelligence moving forward. And Opal at its core is kind of our on-demand adaptive AI assistant for patients, right? This is designed to be very personalized, very predictive, and very proactive for our patients who are using the system. We're going to take a look at it live today. But Opal, at least initially, is going to live inside the hospital room and help patients to kind of connect the dots across things like their clinical data, their behaviors, what sorts of things do they tend to click on? What time of day do they click on things? So patient behaviors, and then a lot of hospital workflows to help really deliver, again, the right messages or support for patients at exactly the right time when they need it. So we do not envision Opal as just a digital tool. We envision Opal as really a helpful guidance that helps to make the hospital stay smoother, safer, really more engaging for our patients who are using our system today. And we are thrilled to give you guys a sneak peek as we dig in here. So, as I mentioned, Opal is really the first manifestation of Get Well using all of this data that we know about our patients to help really drive patient engagements. And so you're going to start to see Opal really start to appear in some of the products that you guys use today or patients use today. And some of the things that you already, know with us, right? Starting with the inpatient setting in our inpatient product, and then also surfacing in our Rounds Plus solution, which is our rounding tool that, again, many of you guys use today and are familiar with today. So I'm going to go deep into the inpatient solution today. If we have time, I'll give a sneak peek of the round solution. And if I don't have time, make sure you join next month because we're going to dig into the rounding solution and do a deeper dive on that side. So Opal, and really the manifestation of AI is not us shifting our direction as a company, right? Opal is actually running straight at our roots as a company, and our roots are we want to make the hospital stay better and more efficient for our patients in our hospitals. And so again, ultimately, we kind of envision Opal appearing in thinking more long term. Opal is also going to appear in some of our ambulatory products, right? And so imagine a world where every single patient, regardless of if they're in the hospital or not, has the Opal Assistant in their pocket and in their lives. But as I mentioned, it's going to come to fruition first in some of the technologies and solutions that you guys use today, starting in the inpatient space. And so inpatient is actually a really natural place for us to start, right? We already have a lot of the data feeds that we need to help drive a more personalized experience, right? We're already attached to the ADT feed. We already are hooked into the EHR and are kind of, communicating with the EHR. We already have a suite of patient education and, medication data sheets that you guys have already approved. So we're never actually going outside to the greater internet to kind of scrape the internet for data and pull that and surface that for patients. We already have a lot of the data in our inpatient system, which again makes it a natural place for us to start for our AI technologies. So to dig in one layer deeper, let's take a look a little bit under the hood. And so, what makes Opal really special is kind of this left-hand bucket here, which we are calling her patient intelligence, right? And so, Opal behind the scenes is going to be pulling in all of this information that I just mentioned, right? This is data from the EMR, real-time patient behavior information, staff assignments, what type of unit is the patient in? All of this information that we have about these patients, Opal is going to be using and pulling in to make more informed decisions about how to best engage with patients. And so, using this information, Opal actually is going to adapt to the unique needs of each individual patient and help users, help patients effectively navigate the hospital experience. And I think when I get into the demo in a second here, it's going to help bring this to light. But patient intelligence is the culmination of all of this information we know about the patients and using it to make the experience better for our patients. And Opal is not working alone. Opal is powering a team of what we're calling our specialized agents, right? And so anybody who's familiar with the world of artificial intelligence and AI, agents is kind of a buzzword that's used in the industry today, but we have some specialized agents that we're in the process of training today. And the initial set that you're going to see come to life are the four that you see on this screen: an infection agent, a fall prevention agent, a discharge agent, and an education agent. And each of these agents is designed to solve a very, very specific problem, right? And so in the case of fall prevention, we're trying to reduce falls in the hospital. In the case of our discharge agent, we want to make sure each patient is prepared for discharge as efficiently as possible. So again, we're not thinking of this just like smart tech. This is really precision patient support, and importantly, support that relates to clear clinical ROIs. Um, and then using this, so again, starting on the left-hand side, we know all of this information, the patient intelligence. We use that to pass patients along to our specialized agents for that are going to help drive certain metrics along using these agents. And on the right-hand side, Opal is going to deliver helpful and personalized tools, right? Things like safety tips, some of the educational videos that you guys are familiar with today, reminders about how to prepare for discharge right to the patient's hospital TV or phone at the right time, right? So no more is the world of setting up a prompt to appear at 2 p.m. every day. Opal is actually doing the legwork behind the scenes to figure out, hey, what is the right time of day to engage a patient about a very specific topic, right? Maybe we know that a patient has 20 minutes left to order a meal. And so maybe we're going to let the patient know, hey, you have 20 minutes left to order a meal. Is now the right time to order a meal, right? That's just one example. But Opal behind the scenes is determining, hey, what is the right time to engage the patient and what is the right set of information to present this patient? Maybe we know patients, are watching their favorite show at a certain time every night. And so maybe that's a good time to prompt patients. Or maybe Opal learns, hey, that's actually a bad time to prompt patients because they're super engaged with their TV show. And these are the types of things that Opal's going to get smarter about and figuring out what are the ways to get the best results and engagement from our patients. And so just to summarize again at a super high level, Opal is our smart assistant for hospital patients. We think of this kind of like a Siri or an Alexa. Obviously, the Get Well name for this is going to be Opal. And obviously, this is going to be focused more on the patient's health and the hospital stay. So Opal is going to be quietly learning about each patient, using this information to deliver what patients want and what they might need before they even ask. All right, real quick, we're not going to spend a ton of time here because I do want to get into the demo, but we're going to dig into each of these sections just a layer deeper. And if you guys have questions, I see questions are starting to flow in through the chat. Please feel free to put them in there. But as I mentioned, what's really exciting about Opal is how it turns data into targeted actions, right? And so we think of Opal kind of like the patient intelligence part of Opal, kind of like a signal processor, right? And so Opal's going to be doing things like watching for clinical flags, watching for these certain behavior patterns. It knows what time of day it is, when are patients most engaged, and from there, kind of determining, hey, do I need to pass this patient along potentially to a specialized agent, right? And so maybe I determine that a certain patient has a bunch of comorbidities, and that patient is a infection risk. And in that case, I'm going to pass this patient on to our infection agent to kind of step in and deliver the right information at the right time for the patient. And so this kind of precision timing is what we envision kind of boosting impact, boosting our utilization, and ultimately saving our staff time as well. All right, I saw a question come in on roadmap. And so just to give you guys a sense, in the specialized agents bucket, I did mention kind of the first four things that we're focusing on out of the gates in regards to our specialized agents are going to be our infection agent, falls agent, discharge agent, and education agent, which you can see listed here. You can see a short description of what each one does. We also have a couple of agents kind of on our roadmap and what we're thinking for the future and kind of natural extensions of these specialized agents. Anything from pressure injury prevention to follow-up scheduling, which would actually be an agent that's designed to get patients to schedule their follow-up appointments before they ever leave the hospital. And even a concierge agent that is designed to actually allow patients to just use their voice to interact with Opal and ask Opal questions similar to how I can, talk to Siri. And so a lot of these things are kind of on the roadmap. And so I'd love to hear from you guys who are on this call today. Of the things listed on this screen, what resonates with you guys the most, right? And that may be one of the four things in our top four buckets up top, or it may be one of the things on the roadmap, or it might be something that's not on our roadmap completely. And I'd love to hear, which of these things resonate with you the most and why. So please put that in the chat and we'll take a look at that after the call. All right. Finally, digging into the patient engagement bucket real quick, and then we're going to jump over to the demo, which hopefully will bring some of this to life for you guys. Opal, as I mentioned, is designed for impact from day one of launching Opal, right? And so some of the new stuff that you're going to see as Opal comes to fruition and comes to your hospital rooms is that Opal is first of all going to be onboarding our patients more efficiently and automatically. So this includes explaining to the patients how to use the system, helping the patient set preferences for their stay. And then once the patient is onboarded throughout the stay, Opal is actually going to deliver, as I mentioned, the right content at the right moment. So whether that be education, whether that be certain discharge tasks, whether that be medication data sheet information, we're going to deliver the right information at the right time for our patients. Um, Importantly, Opal also works across multiple modalities, right? And so historically, as you guys know, we started typically delivering through the patient television. We also have a BYOD solution, which allows patients to use their personal device. Moving forward, again, Opal is going to surface information in multiple ways, multiple modalities, figure out what is the way that this particular patient prefers. Maybe certain patients prefer to watch an educational video on their phone as opposed to on the TV. Or maybe certain patients prefer to watch on the big screen TV so their family can be engaged and watch along with them. We are going to not limit to a certain modality, but Opal is going to engage multiple modalities and figure out what's best for a particular patient. Again, the goal, more self-service, less nursing time spent on some of these basic tasks, things like education, and really importantly, as a company at Get Well, stronger alignment to some of these measurable outcomes that we know work, right? We have the case studies that have proven simple things like hand hygiene reminders actually reducing infections. We have the case studies, and so let's figure out the best way to roll these out to the greater good, as opposed to, site by site. All right. With that, I think I'm going to jump over to the demo. I see some comments coming through. I am not caught up on what's coming through. So, Steve, hopefully you have a good grasp on that, or maybe it's ideas for our roadmap. But I'm going to go ahead and jump into the demo. Oop, I actually already have this tab open, and let me go ahead and restart this. All right, so what you're looking at here is we have a patient, Sophia, who is going to be our patient that we're looking at today. She is a 65-year-old patient who's been admitted for a scheduled knee replacement. She has a BMI, you can see up in the upper left here, she has a BMI of 30, hypertension, and congestive heart failure. So this makes her not only a surgical patient, but one who is at an elevated infection risk. And so again, thinking through this in the lens of Opal, Opal is taking all of this information that we know about Sophia and determining, hey, Sophia is not just a surgical patient today. She is also a patient who is at elevated infection risk. And we're going to use that to our advantage and tailor the experience based on that information about Sophia. So, right when Sophia gets into her get well room for the first time, her TV is already going to be on, and Opal is going to be on screen, kind of delivering a very personalized onboarding experience for Sophia, right? This moment is meant to be more than a welcome for Sophia, it's more of a foundation for her stay, right? Opal's going to be introducing herself, explaining how she's going to help Sophia stay safe, stay informed, stay on track, and also quietly informing Sophia about her in-room experience, the Get Well experience, and the tools that she's going to have access to through the Get Well solution. So again, the goal of this is a very, very hyper personalized onboarding experience that ultimately is meant to remove some of the nursing burden of having to come into the patient room, explain what the heck is this Get Well thing on my TV? How am I going to use it? What features am I going to have access to? Opal is going to be handling that through a personalized onboarding experience. So let's go ahead and say Sophia has now, settled in her room. She has a good sense of what Opal is going to deliver to her. And she's going to go ahead and click, sorry, let me go back. She's going to go ahead and click on Get Started. And as she's doing this, Opal is once again going to work, right? Behind the scenes, Opal is using all of this patient intelligence and things that we know about Sophia to really tailor Sophia's in-room screen, right? And so here, this is where we're pulling in the clinical data, the diagnosis, the orders, the discharge plan. We're also pulling in here, her environmental and demographic data, right? So What unit type is she in? What is her age? Those types of things. And additionally, let's pull in her behavioral preferences. What time of day does this particular patient and patients who are, comparable to this patient most engaged? Maybe Sophia's been to this hospital before, and maybe we have a sense of what times she likes to interact with the system. So again, Opal pulling all of this information in to kind of dynamically adjust what is on Sophia's screen when she first gets into the system, right? We want to kind of remove some of the historically complex menus of features and instead give Sophia exactly what she needs when she needs it. So in this case, we know that the majority of patients want to get into the room and settled as quickly as possible. So we're actually going to offer Sophia quick and easy access to the TV and the TV guide as her first option on her screen. Right. The example I gave earlier, maybe we know that it's 20 minutes left to order a meal. And so maybe meal ordering is the top example. But this set of tiles is no longer a static set of tiles. This is a dynamic set of tiles populating for our patients based on what we think is the most important thing, or what a patient is most interested in at any given point in time. All right. I'm just reading through a couple of these messages real quick. One question came in about foreign language options. The answer to that question is yes. There's absolutely a natural extension of artificial intelligence for foreign languages. And so expect that there will be some language support for other languages as a part of this Opal solution as well. All right. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit more about Opal's patient intelligence. You can see on the left-hand side, I have a couple different things that we can dig into here and look at a little bit deeper. So let's start with our infection agent, and let's assume that our infection agent has been automatically activated behind the scenes for our patient Sophia, right? And so we know that Sophia, because of her comorbidities and her high BMI, is an infection risk. And so Opal is going to use that information and call in the infection agent and say, hey, for this particular patient, Sophia, she is an infection risk. So let's engage her in the right ways. So now let's say Sophia is watching TV.
Sophia, I have an important education video for you to watch on infection prevention from your care team. Is now a good time?
I'm not sure if you guys could hear that through the speakers, but
We could. You're good.
okay, cool. But Opal has actually now, for my patient Sophia, who was watching TV, watching her favorite show, Opal kind of deployed a smart nudge behind the scenes and a proactive alert for Sophia. Importantly, Opal has the ability to do read back to patients, right? And so I like to liken this to, hey, if I'm on a flight, pilot comes on the intercom and says an important message, and it comes through all the speakers. I know it's kind of a short, concise message, and I know I'm going to get back to whatever I was doing before the pilot came on. But typically, I'm listening to the pilot's statement because I know it's a quick, concise message about something that's important. And so I like to liken kind of Opal's interactions to this. You'll notice we do have kind of a timeout bar, and so we want to let patients know that this interaction, this nudge is going to go away eventually. They don't need to scrounge up a pillow speaker or something to get it off the screen. However, if they do want to engage, we can surface action buttons for them to actually engage on the TV. Or again, you can also see a cell phone here. And so we're going to be engaging patients on multiple modalities. So in addition to prompting Sophia on top of her TV, we're also going to send her a text message that says, hey, Sophia, if you prefer to watch your educational video on your phone, you can do it here as well. And so again, let's figure out what works best for patients to engage with the system. And so in this case, Sophia is going to go ahead and let's say she watches her hand washing video on her TV this time. She's going to go ahead and complete this video. I'm just going to skip through that. And Opal again goes to work to make the experience better for Sophia, right? And so in this case, Opal is actually taking the video that she just watched and helping to summarize the information from that video on the screen, helping to drive home some of the key points, help boost health literacy, and really, again, drive home these key points. And so Sophia is able to see this, see what she just watched. Maybe she missed an important piece of information, but now she's seen it in the summary from Opal. And then Sophia's going to let us know, hey, you know what? I did watched this video. I do understand the key points. And again, we're going to track this information completion back seamlessly into the EMR for auto documentation into the EHR. All right, jumping along here. I know we're running out of time, and we probably won't get a chance to go super deep in each of these, but I do want to show a couple other concepts off. A similar concept on the side of medications and how we handle medications.
Sophia, you have been prescribed new meds. It's important to learn about these meds and ask questions if you have any. Is now a good time?
So in this case, Sophia has a bunch of medications. She has Lasix for congestive heart failure. She has hypertension medication and some post-op
three
pain
medications.
So
which one do you want more information on?
Instead of relying on a nurse to come in and explain every detail of the medication, or for those of you who are familiar with our medication data sheets today, it's a lot of information on the screen that a patient would need to scroll through and kind of read through. Opal is starting to take this information and once again surface clear, simplified medication summaries right on her TV. So in this case, Sophia actually has 3 medications she's been assigned. Right when she gets into her meds, there's actually a nice summary of all 3 of these medications up front. The ability for Sophia to dig into these deeper if she wants to learn more about Lasix or enalapril, but showing a summary of information about these medications to Sophia. You'll also notice that we can do things like write these at her reading level or use some best practices like emojis to represent key side effects, or even prompting Sophia to acknowledge that she understands her medications to help reduce confusion and avoid adverse drug effects. So a lot of really cool things that Opal is doing to make the experience more personalized, more engaging, and a better experience for Sophia. All right, real quick, as Sophia is kind of completing these various steps along her stay, another concept that you guys are going to see come to light is a concept of a visit tracker. And so our visit tracker relates very specifically to our discharge agent, right? We want to get patients prepared for discharge as quickly and efficiently as possible to reduce length of stay. And so in this case, we know that there are a set of things that are super important for Sophia to do before she can be released from the hospital. In this case, we want her to view her medications and understand her medications, view her education, schedule a follow-up visit, and make sure she has a ride home arranged. So the system, Opal, has now recognized, Sophia has completed the educational video. We did that first thing. We've also read through our medication information. And so we've marked both of these as complete and one step closer to getting discharged from the hospital. But importantly, this also brings some visibility for so not only Sophia, but her care team and people who are entering the room to see how close Sophia is to actually completing the task to get her out the door, as well as family members who can help support Sophia and drive her along. So again, kind of a quick view of how Opal starts to come to light in regards to discharge and prepping patients for discharge as well. All right, we are not going to have a ton of time to dig into these others because we only have 2 minutes left. That's my bad. I apologize for that, but there is a lot to cover here. I will mention real quick, you'll see Signal and Rounds Plus as kind of different sections of this demo as well. And so Opal does have the ability to interact with some of the additional modalities and solutions that we have deployed in many of your sites today, right? So if you guys have our digital door boards, our Signal devices, our digital whiteboards that you guys are using, Opal will be able to recognize that and communicate with those devices as well, right? So in the case of Sophia, we know she's an infection risk. Maybe we're going to surface an additional alert on her Signal device so that people coming and entering the room know that information about Sophia. So a quick example there, but the important thing here is that Opal will cross-collaborate across these other products that we have in our suite of inpatient offerings today.
Awesome. Thank you, Josh. And don't apologize. It's just so much great information. And again, we do have that Smart Hospital of the Future coming up in August. So we may be able to touch back on some of these in a little bit more detail during that session.
Great.
This is recorded. We will send out a follow-up email in the next few days that will have this recording as well as the slide deck. You can also find this and all past Get Well Wednesdays on the Connection Hub. A few other things, check out the Connection Hub to find out about our new live learning program manager sessions. We will have one in July around our Hello at Get Well, just to give you a little bit more information about that. And apart from that, we are at 1:30. So I appreciate everybody hopping on. Again, take that survey at the end and we will be in touch. Take care, everybody.